Good morning, and what a beautiful day. Happy Friday, middle of September. Sorry about that. It's amazing. If I do it early in the morning, there isn't a problem, but later in the day, Facebook starts to have a problem. So we've talked a lot about state management, and, manage your state, you got everything. Don't manage your state, you don't have anything. But one of the things to notice about all of the people that we follow, when we look at people who are significantly successful in every way, they set out to become significantly successful. Mark Cuban, when he started his his online news group, somebody said, "You're going to be a millionaire." And he turned around, he pointed his finger at him and said, "Correction, I'm going to be a billionaire." Those people that we talk about, whatever area it is, it doesn't matter, whether it's writers, whether it's lawyers or doctors, whether it's business people, they absolutely set out to hit the top of their game. Now, a lot of times it doesn't happen the way that they thought it was going to. Sometimes it happens quicker than they think it's gonna. Most of the time it takes longer than they think it's going to. But they all had this intention to become something big. If you, Dave Grohl was outside of Wrigley Field at a bar when he decided to become a rock and roll star. And there was a period of time where he wasn't sure that it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden he decided to go up and try out for a little band called Nirvana up in Seattle. And he almost didn't go, but his mother said, "Look, do you want to do this or not? If you want to, you got to go try out." He didn't think that anything was going to come out of Seattle. Well, guess what? Something kind of big did. And then when that band was done, he thought he was done then. But he set out to be a rock and roll star. The guys that end up being the huge actors on Saturday Night Live. I mean, I heard an interview with Dan Akroyd where he and John Belushi, even when they were doing Second City in Chicago, were talking about how they were going to take these and turn them into movies. And remember, nobody had ever done that. Now we consider that to be a common practice, but nobody had ever taken a skit from Saturday Night Live and turned it into a movie. And they were talking about doing that back when they were not even on Saturday Night Live yet, when they were at Second City in Chicago. They said, "We're going to end up being on Saturday Night Live." And because that show was just starting, they knew it was gonna start. And they said, "We're going to take these skits and turn them into a movie." And then the first movie they did was the Blues Brothers. John Landis decided he wanted to make it. The only reason it got made was because it was John Landis. And when he pitched it to Warner Brothers and said, "By the way, my two lead characters are never going to take their sunglasses off the entire movie," Warner Brothers said, "Look, we think this movie is going to be a disaster. We're only going to spend a couple of $1,000,000 on it, but because you've been so successful in other things, then we're going to go ahead and make it." And the movie ended up being iconic. But they set out with the intention that they were going to create that result. The old adage, shoot for the moon, you're going to end up in the stars. If you want to be significantly successful, you've got to do that. My friend Chris Dakin, who watches a lot of these, goes to the Pecatonica River. I won't tell exactly where he goes because it's a secret spot, but he's in a small area and he catches the biggest northern you've ever seen in your life. A couple of miles from where I'm standing, in a tiny creek, he catches these huge fish. And I asked him one time, I'm like, "How the hell do you do that? How do you catch these giant fish in this small creek?" And he said, quote, "If you want to catch big fish, you got to go fish for big fish." Brilliant. One of the most brilliant things I've ever heard. You're not going to catch a big fish if you're fishing for little guys. It's not going to work. You got to go there with the intent that I'm going to catch something big. So you got to use a lure that's going to catch something big. You got to use a lead that's going to catch something big that can hold that type of fish. You got to go fishing for big fish. If you want to be financially independent and all you're doing is hitting singles, then you're never going to end up getting there. Now, you can hit singles all day long and be financially secure, but not and be financially independent. If you're going to be financially independent, every now and then you got to hit a home run, which means you got to swing to hit a home run, because it's a different swing than it is to swing and hit singles. So what is it that you're trying to accomplish in your life, and are you setting your sights high enough? And why don't we? Well, because it's fear, false evidence appearing real. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of success. At the end of the day, we're afraid of two things. I'm not going to be enough, and because I'm not enough, I won't be loved. Those are our two bottom line fears. So if you're not going for what it is that you want, that's simply the reason why. And we all do it. I do it. We all do it. Just because I study this stuff doesn't mean I don't fall into the same patterns. I do. It's just I surround myself with people who will slap me in the face and say, "Hey, Tim, you're falling into that pattern that we teach people not to do. Why don't you not do that?" Oh, we all need coaches. That's a coach. The definition of a coach is somebody who propels someone forward, who creates forward progress. That's the definition of a coach. And we all need somebody that can help us because we can't see our own swing. So when you fall into those patterns, don't beat yourself up. Just realize, okay, I'm falling into that pattern. It's because of fear. It's the same two things. Fear is false evidence appearing real. I'm going to learn something no matter what on how I do this, which means I'm going to have greater distinctions. But if I want to achieve an outstanding result, I have to set out, and my goal has to be to achieve that outstanding result or something equivalent. Don't say I'm going to become worth $100 million and go out and try to make $20,000. Now, you can start out making $20,000, but your plan has got to be, how am I going to get there? Don't start out wanting to have an amazing relationship and you take action as though you want your relationship to be okay and survive. If you want your relationship to be amazing, then you got to take steps to make it amazing. That has to be the goal. I'm going to make this relationship amazing. I'm going to be the best spouse in the history of the universe. I'm going to be the best parent in the history of the universe. You go, well, that sounds arrogant. Okay, maybe, but when you set out to do that, now you're going to take different actions. If you set out saying, I'm going to make $1 million next year, you're going to take different actions than if you set out to make $30,000 next year. Now, you may or may not create the outcome, but the actions are going to create different outcomes. That action to make 30 is going to create a much different outcome than that action to make $1 million. So whatever it is that you want to do, you've got to take the actions. You've got to set the goal to overachieve so you can take appropriate actions towards that goal, which is going to result in more activity, which is going to result in more outcomes. The more you work towards achieving the particular outcome, the more steps you're going to make. And the bigger steps you try to take, the bigger steps you're going to make. Might not be exactly as you planned, probably won't be. Might not take the exact steps that you hope, probably won't be. But it's going to be a lot different than if you're just hitting singles. Hitting singles all day is great, but at some time you got to swing for the fence. Otherwise, at the end of your life, you're going to look back and say, I wish I woulda, I wish I shoulda. As Tony Robbins says, we say, I should do this, I should do that. We should all over ourselves. So if you want to take a swing, take it. And if you strike, great. Now you've got a better distinction. Swing again, you got more experience. Every time you try, you have more experience. You're going to create a different result. So ask yourself today, as we head into the weekend, where am I not playing at the level that I can? Where am I not giving the effort that I should be giving? What is the area of my life that I'm playing at a lower level than I'm capable of? And where can I go and play at the level that I deserve to play at? Because the difference between success and significant success rarely is about talent. It's almost always about drive. It's almost always about desire. It's almost always about hunger. Michael Jordan was not the most talented person to ever be drafted in the NBA. He wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the fastest, but he was the most hungry. And he got drafted to a team that more people were going to see the semi-pro hockey team than were going to see the professional basketball team in Chicago when he got drafted. And he walked into that building and said, not only am I going to win a championship, I'm going to turn this into a dynasty and we're going to win multiple championships. And he did. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. James down. I don't have my glasses on. James, Valerie, great to see you guys. Brandon, my neighbor, great to see you, brother. Catherine and Carter. Oh, my God, Carter, nice to see you, my man. Natalie, like I said, I don't have my glasses on. And Svetlana, oh, my goodness, I'm so honored that you guys are on today. Truly honored when people take the time to watch and listen, and I hope you get value. Drop something in the chat if you have a question or a comment. I would love to talk to you guys. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.